there's nothing like shooting off the end of a carrier in your Hornet. Welcome aboard. This is Striker, flying in the FA-18C Hornet. And today I wanted to talk about adding another level of immersion to your Simpit, and even if that's as simple as an office chair. I'm talking about adding vibrations, tactile feedback for you while you're flying in really any kind of aircraft, be it a Hornet, Strike Eagle, helicopters, you name it. If it's got some telemetry being sent from the sim, you can feel it. So initially I was using a Buttkicker, which I bought quite a while ago. And Buttkickers, I think, are great if all you have is an office chair, right? And you need it to clamp, need something to clamp onto that central stem that supports you. But what I was doing, I had a little metal bar that I had screwed onto my seat so that the Buttkicker could clamp onto it. And it's just, it makes a lot of noise. It wasn't really for me. I heard about these transducers and how easy it is, so I finally decided to give it a shot. So I did some quick research online, and everything's all about sim racing. So I wanted to put together something for Simpits. So let's have a look at what I have in my Buttkicker. So as you can see, it's just clamped on using that little metal bar. This is the Buttkicker Gamer 2. I think a Playseat edition, which came with that little bar that it's clamped onto. But it's not ideal, and this also comes with an amp. The amp's pretty big, and it's got all the settings that you would need. It has a little wired remote for you to use, but it's got a lot of wires sticking out the back as well. And the other issue is that the Buttkicker on my seat was really noisy. And it's actually why I stopped using it originally. I had bought a jet seat, and that's like a massage pad that you can set on. It's got 8 little motors that vibrate. Really recommend that. Maybe if something else you can get in addition to this. But anyway, it was really noisy, and so I stopped using it. But then I added it back on to augment things like weapons releases. Listen to how it sounds. Pretty noisy, right? So that's why I got rid of it. As you can see here, removal of this is super easy. And again, this is really made for clamping on to the little pole that supports most office chairs. But if you have a Simpit type of thing like I have, there's a much better way. So let's get rid of this guy. Just unscrew the little clamp that holds it in place. Get in there with my other hand. And it just kind of lifts off. There's a little vise part that slides out. And away we go. Done. So this is kind of, the whole setup that I had. That's the amp, the Buttkicker, the wires, all that kind of stuff. And I was actually kind of happy to see this all go. It's a little bit can be a little bit messy. So this is what I received from Amazon. I actually bought 2 bass shakers. I was going to put one at the front, one at the back, but I scrapped that because they're really just left and right. And then I have on top of those the amplifiers, a little USB sound card amplifier, and some speaker wire. Super easy to install, really, really easy to configure. Anybody can do this. Let's have a look. So the first thing you're going to need, obviously, is your transducer. And I bought this Dayton Audio BST1. It's a 50-watt bass shaker. And $55 from Amazon. In addition to that, you're going to need an amplifier. This is a simple little USB amplifier. Super easy, and it does the trick. And that was $34 from Amazon. You're going to need some speaker wire. And look at this. For $14, I got 100 feet of this. 16 gauge is what I got. You can use, I think, 16 or 14. I also got a Velcro that I'm going to use to stick that little amplifier onto my Simpit. I'll show you how. And you can want some cable ties. These things are pretty cheap. You can get like a whole bunch of them from Home Depot or whatever for $5. Now, optionally, you may want to get a powered USB hub. This is actually a pretty good one. You have 11 ports. I have a 7-port one, and all 7 ports are full. So I kind of wish I'd gotten a larger one. So something like this would really help you out. In addition to that, you may want to get a longer USB cable. It's a micro USB on one end. The one that they ship is pretty short. So you may want like a 6 feet or 10 feet length. Those are, not too expensive either. So for tools, I have this wire stripper, and I really recommend this. I used to do it with pliers or whatever and stripping and yanking. This thing is a dream to use and well worth it, because you're always going to have to strip some wire in the house at some point, right? But if not, you can do it the old-fashioned way. And lastly, you'll want to have a pair of wire cutters to cut that speaker wire. All right, so here's a summary of what you're going to be doing. So you're going to want to identify a location on your chair to mount the transducer. You want to mount it using the cable ties, strip the wire and connect it to that transducer, red to red, black to black. Okay, then you want to identify where you're going to mount the amp. I put it somewhere close by where I can just kind of reach down and turn it on and off and adjust the volume. So cut the Velcro to fit it and stick it onto the amp, and then stick all of that onto that location wherever you're going to put it. Feed speaker wire from the transducer to the amp following the path you're going to use for cable management, and cut the wire. Give some extra slack. Strip the wire and then connect it to the amp on the correct channel. Red to red, black to black. Connect the USB from the amp to your computer or your powered USB hub, and connect the power to the amp. Lastly, you're going to download and configure the Sim Shaker for Aviators software, and also purchase and download and configure the Sim Shaker sound module, which works with Sim Shaker for Aviators.
Altitude. Altitude.
As I was firing those rockets, I could feel it from the base shakers, and now when I'm pulling, I can feel the buffeting on my wings. It's a great thing to have. I thought I'd just do a quick comparison. So there's the Buttkicker amp on the left, and the knob sound amp on the right. Now those are the two 50-watt transducers that I'm using, and they're replacing that clip-on Buttkicker in the foreground. So this is kind of everything all jumbled together from my Buttkicker. You see all the wires, a little wired remote there, and the Buttkicker itself. And here's the new setup. It's a much cleaner, simpler, and again, super easy to get mounted. Let's get busy with that. All right, so this is the underside of my chair, and you see those springs there. I'm going to actually tie wrap it onto those. Right? So you kind of figure out where you want to put it, and I'm going to slip those little tie wraps. There's cable ties through each of those 4 holes, and just kind of tie it right onto those springs. Super easy. All right, so here you can see it's mounted. I actually also have the wire fed into those clips. I'm just going to trim off the excess from those tie wraps, and then it's good to go. All right, now we need to wire up the little amp. So you see I have 2 wires that are stripped, and I actually have the 2 base shakers that I'm going to be using. So make sure you're picking the correct channel. So let's say use the R for rear, right? If you're just doing 1, use R. Take your wire, you're going to feed it into those holes. Now there's a hole at the bottom of each one, and we're just going to feed it in there. Where is it? You got to make sure you twist the wire so it doesn't get all kind of frayed. You're just going to feed it in and up through that little opening. There we go. And then screw it down tight against the copper wire. Make sure you're not screwing it against the insulating outer sleeve. Do the same with the black one. I bent it up so I just kind of feed it up and inside so it's not sticking out the other end. And then just screw that down nice and tight. Yeah. That easy. So if you just have one transducer, you're done. Okay. Now I actually have two. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other wire and I'm going to show you the process for that. All right, so you want to snip into there just a little bit to separate the two sides, the black and the red. Cut in just a little bit and peel it apart with your fingers. There we go. And we're going to use this handy wire stripper. Watch this thing. If you don't have one of these, you just feed it in there up to the guide. And bingo. Look at that. Slides it right off. Take those two little pieces off. Easy, right? And then give those a twist so that you don't have all the little pieces spraying all over the place. And we're going to do the same thing on the left channel. We're going to feed the wire in and screw those down nice and tight. There we go. My big hand's in the way. Same idea here. I give it a bit of a bend. Open that right up. Feed it on in. Into that opening and then screw it down. That's it. Get your left and your right channels wired up, ready to go. All right, let's get that Velcro. So I cut this to size already. And just peel off the adhesive from one side when you're ready to stick it on and just stick it on the back of this. All right, gently place it on because the stuff is sticky. And then I'm going to stick it on the front and I'll show you it mounted when I'm done. All right, there we go. Look at that. So I have the wires running out the side, and on the other end, I have the little on-off switch, and that knob there is for adjusting the volume. So I know I had originally mounted one, but I took it off and I put two of them underneath my seat, and it was a very tight fit. So now I have a left and right channel for the vibrations, and it works really well. So you can see I used all the little cable ties, and I just need to tighten them and then cut the excess. All right, so I have to hop into this Black Hawk. I need to deliver a capture squad and a stinger squad to the land here. Let me just say that flying a helicopter with these base shakers is something else. You can feel the engine vibrations, the rotors swinging around. It is just crazy. All right, so you're going to need to go to the website to grab the SimShaker for Aviators, and then the SimShaker for Aviators sound module. And the sound module, you do need to pay for it. I think it's around $30 right now. So go get those two. I'll be here for you. All right, so once you've downloaded and installed SimShaker for Aviators and the SimShaker sound, you go ahead, you've installed them. Now you need to run them. So when you run SimShaker, you're just going to get this smaller window, which will disappear. And you come down to your system tray and just right click and start SimShaker for Aviators. And that will bring it up. All right. Oops. So we have the normal one. Now I have the jet pad or jet seat, however you want to call it. So that's why that's going to show up. And I have this column here. But if we're just focusing on the transducers, you're going to want to focus on this sound module. And in your system tray, you're going to see we have this other similarly shaped icon, but it's gray. So we just want to click that, and it'll bring up the sound module configuration. All right. So let's first start with the sound module here. So once you've plugged in your the amplifier, it's going to show up as this USB 2.0 device in terms of your sound source. This is what we're going to select. And then you can always come here and you can test them. Now I have two transducers, so you're going to see I have two options here. Now you see here we have option for 1, 2, or you can do 3 to 6, all that stuff. One's probably enough. I have two. If you can swing two, it's probably worth giving it a try, because you can kind of get left and right side. But you come here and then you can test it, and you can either click here or you can hit play. See, that's just testing the one. This is testing the second one, and then this will do both. And then you can adjust the volume, and there's a whole bunch of different tests that you can do to kind of see what it's going to feel like in the sim. And you've got guns and all that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, I just come in here, test it, make sure it's working, and then you're off and running. So that's it for basically for setting up the very basics for the sound module. Now when you come out, the next thing you need to do is hop into DCS and fly one of the aircraft, and then it'll show up here. All right. So if we look at the let's look at the F-15E Strike Eagle. This is where you're going to set this strength of the sound module. And this is just kind of to taste. For a long time, I had a lot of these off, and I was just using the jet seat, and I was using the Buttkicker, which was what this was for at the time, to augment stuff like ordnance drop or gunfire. So you really feel it, right? So I cranked all those up to 100, and a lot of these I had at 0 or minimized. But since I put these transducers in, I've actually been really enjoying it. So that's really it. If you jump into another aircraft, when you come back into here, you'll see it listed, and then you can just go in and configure that. The module for that. See here, the F-18. I haven't come in to reconfigure this from when I previously used it, but the catapult shot I had at 100, so I'd really feel it. Gunfire, payload release. That's another really nice one. Having that at 100. And you have a lot of other options here. Not a whole lot of other stuff to play with in here. You can do some testing, stuff like that. But honestly, now see, I have the SimShaker module. So you want to put Make sure you have that set to start automatically, and then the output to it. I do simultaneous output because I have both, again, the jet seat and the transducers, either a Buttkicker or these transducers. And it works for both. So that's it. Now, when you are finished with these, just minimize them, because if you close them, it kind of kills the application. So what you want to do now is you'll hop into DCS, fly around, get the feel for it, and be like, yeah, maybe I need to reduce the engine rumble, or more. I want more for the G effects, stuff like that. And then you just go in there and you adjust those settings. Find what works for you. It's just like when you're configuring DCS, it takes time. So hopefully this was helpful. It's super easy. Go get one of these things, get it set up. All right, we're coming around on the final break to the carrier and get this thing back on deck. So let me just say that, once you get something like this, you're never going to be able to fly without it. It makes a world of difference. It's not something you think you need until you have it. And once you experience it, you cannot go back to flying without it. It just feels empty, like you're flying, an empty shell. The feedback you get when you're pulling G's, you can feel the buffeting. I use that as my guide for if I'm pulling too hard, or if I need to increase my throttle to get more airspeed. Yeah, I could feel the buffeting of the air flowing over the wings, and I could definitely feel that trap on the deck of the carrier here. So that's it. Hopefully you found this video to be helpful. It's cheap to put this thing together with one transducer, one amplifier, and some speaker wire. Super easy to do, and I really recommend it. That if you don't have this any kind of feedback, tactile feedback in your seat, definitely give this a look. If you have the space to put it on, I would definitely recommend going the transducer path. If you have an office chair, the Buttkicker is still a good one to get. There may be ways for you to mount it onto an office chair. I'm not sure. You might have to screw into the bottom or something, but if you wanted to do a transducer, but definitely do something, because you're missing out so much if you don't have those vibrations giving you feedback for the engines and the buffeting and all that good stuff. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to help you out. Take care.